What happens when a filmmaker crosses the alternate line between reality and fiction, using a real child's dying words as the foundation for a movie? Kaouther Ben Hania's The Voice of Hind Rajab has ignited a firestorm at the Venice Film Festival that goes far beyond typical movie buzz. This Tunisian director has crafted something that defies easy categorization, a docufictional work that has audiences simultaneously applauding and questioning whether art has gone too far. The film centers on the tragic real-life story of 5-year-old Palestinian girl Hind Rajab, who was tragically killed in 2024 by Israeli Defense Forces in Gaza. Hind died alongside 6 family members in her uncle's vehicle, plus 2 paramedics who attempted a rescue mission. But here's where it gets controversial. After surviving the initial attack that claimed her relatives' lives, young Hind spent hours on the phone with the Palestine Red Crescent Society, pleading desperately for someone to save her. Ben Hania made an unprecedented creative choice. She incorporated Hind's authentic, heartbreaking audio recordings into her film. While the child's actual voice echoes through the theater, professional actors portray the emergency response team members, reacting, shouting, and breaking down emotionally as they hear Hind's real pleas for help unfold in real time. The audience reaction at Venice was nothing short of extraordinary. A thunderous 23-minute standing ovation that lasted roughly 1/4 of the film's entire runtime. Reports describe journalists and festival attendees openly weeping in the theater. Yet this passionate response has sparked an equally intense debate about artistic boundaries. And this is the part most people miss. Critics are questioning whether Ben Hania's approach crosses into exploitation territory. Some argue that presenting authentic tragedy within a Hollywood-style suspense framework, complete with actors demonstrating how audiences should emotionally respond, transforms real suffering into entertainment. They suggest a traditional documentary format, featuring interviews with actual responders and emergency personnel, might have been more respectful while still illuminating the obstacles that prevented Hind's rescue. But here's the counter-argument that's dividing critics. In an era where filmmakers typically focus on fabricated stories about imaginary characters, shouldn't we applaud a director who tackles one of our time's most pressing real-world issues head-on? Ben Hania forces audiences to confront uncomfortable truths rather than escape into fantasy. The question of whether Gaza receives adequate attention in public discourse remains debatable, but Ben Hania's method of engagement with current events is undeniably bold. Perhaps in 2 decades, no one will question the appropriateness of blending documentary reality with fictional techniques. So why shouldn't we explore these boundaries now, while the issues remain urgent and immediate? Motaz Malhiz delivers a powerful performance as Omar, the emergency response center operator who first receives the call. Working through his headset, Omar initially hears from Hind's cousin calling from Germany, who had been contacted from the car where the tragedy unfolded. Subsequently, Omar establishes that devastating docufictional connection with Hind herself, whose genuine, soul-crushing cries penetrate the dramatic framework. "My family, they're all dead, and it will be dark soon. I'm scared." Omar's visible anguish becomes so intense that his supervisor Rana, played by Saja Kalani, must intervene to calm him down. Through Omar's investigation, viewers discover that Hind's location at a gas station sits merely 8 minutes away from the closest available ambulance. Some of the film's most excruciating sequences simply display the Palestine Red Crescent Society's digital mapping system, showing the ambulance creeping incrementally through bomb-damaged streets toward the child. However, bureaucratic protocols prevent any immediate dispatch orders. The overwhelmed coordinator Madi, portrayed by Amr Hlehel, must explain to the frustrated Omar that emergency responders can't simply radio ambulance drivers with movement commands. First, they must establish a verified safe passage route through extensive coordination with both the International Committee of the Red Cross and Israel's Ministry of Defense unit, called the Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories. an impulsive ambulance rush through active combat zones would inevitably result in the vehicle being targeted and its crew killed. People who, Mahdi emphasizes, have their own families and children to consider. This leads Ben Hania to the debate's core tension. Omar explodes with fury, demanding, "How can you coordinate with the army that killed them?" He's voicing that persistent accusation of complicity that haunts humanitarian work in conflict zones. Mahdi must maintain his composure while explaining that this represents the harsh reality he confronts daily. The film becomes a fierce, uncompromising examination of impossible moral choices. So here's the million-dollar question that's tearing critics apart. Is Ben Hania a visionary artist forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths, or has she crossed an ethical line by transforming real tragedy into cinematic spectacle? Does using authentic audio of a dying child's final moments constitute powerful advocacy or unconscionable exploitation? What's your take? Should filmmakers have unlimited access to real human suffering if their intentions are to raise awareness and spark change? Or are there sacred boundaries that art should never cross, regardless of the message? Share your thoughts. This controversy isn't going away anytime soon, and your perspective matters in shaping how we handle such sensitive material in future artistic works.